What's up guys, RuppDat here, and doing something a little different this time around. I know, this might be a bit weird, but considering I decided to ditch my PokeRupp channel and just focus all my content on one solid channel, maybe this isn't as surprising as you might think. But, for those of you who weren't aware, I, as per usual, was a gym leader for the PAX Pokemon League at PAX West this past year. A little more specifically, however, I was appointed the role of champion this year, which was a pretty big honor. I will state right now, for those of you who watched my update video, the trip was a tiny bit tainted by something I discussed in the update video. If you did not catch that, please go and watch it for an idea as to what I'm talking about, because I would really prefer not to discuss it here again. But I still had fun overall, and while I did have a bit of an abysmal win-loss record to some degree, you gotta keep in mind, I was the champion, so the ultimate goal was I was supposed to be beaten. I still got several very good battles out of the whole ordeal, though, so as far as I'm concerned, that's the most important thing. So, this video is going to contain my very first battle that I had for, just to kick this series off, showing off all the Wi-Fi battles well, not Wi-Fi, but face-to-face battles, I guess, I had over the weekend of PAX West about a month ago at this point. But I figured I would also start this off quick by briefly going over my theme to give you guys an idea of what was going on. So, I had a fairly abstract theme this year. I decided that after what I did for PAX East went over fairly well, at PAX East I was Loud House themed, and since there's 11 Loud siblings, I cycled through them by having my challengers pick 6 cards from a small deck of 11, and that determined my team. So I decided to take that to the next level and kind of theme myself around my design exploits this year. So I was Ruffy, the Devoted Designer. And basically what it boiled down to is, I had a little survey I gave to challengers before we battled. This survey contained 6 questions, and their answers would basically determine my team. I would build a team on the fly from, I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head. It'll probably show up on the screen for you guys if I get an accurate count on it. But it was definitely over 200-something Pokemon that I ultimately used for this. It was an endeavor getting all of them together, I will say that. But ultimately, I had a lot of fun being able to build teams on the fly, and even in defeat, I still think I kind of proved to myself that I'm kind of capable of using just about everything. I didn't have very many battles where I was necessarily blown out of the water. The questionnaire, when we get to the battles, you'll see a little ticker scrolling along the bottom of the screen that will display the answers that my challenger gave to each question to determine my team, so they can kind of keep an idea as to why I'm using what I'm using against them. The questions basically went as follows. I asked them for their favorite Pokemon type, as well as their least favorite type, and I did ask them to be as honest as possible. And I had a pool of 3 Pokemon for each one of those that I would just kind of alternate between depending on the answer. This was the same for favorite color. The answer to favorite color, as far as how I categorized all those Pokemon, came from Bulbapedia's list of Pokemon categorized by color, so there can be some arguments made as to colors of certain Pokemon, but I just defaulted to Bulbapedia. It was the easiest way to organize it. I asked them to pick a number between 1 and 18. This represented all 18 current types in the Pokemon games, and basically the answer to this determined what type of memory I would be giving to my Silvally, which was the one and only constant on my entire team. I thought it was a perfect way to kind of glue the whole team together by having at least one solid Mon, even though it had an ever-evolving type, and one solid role it would fulfill. I also asked challengers to give me their favorite in-game trainer. I did get a couple answers that were outside of what I was looking for. To be fair, I was trying to prepare for everything as much as possible, but I guess there were some variables I didn't account for. But I basically kept this strictly to gym leaders, Elite Four members, trial captains, island kahunas, anyone that was officially designated as a champion in the games, as well as, in a very late edition, because I figured some might go that way, villainous team leaders. And then for the last question, I asked them, what was their most memorable battle from this year's crop of PAX Pokemon League gym leaders? I had one Mon representing every single gym leader that was currently active for the PAX Pokemon League this year. What I refer to as their signature Mon, I guess, or what they felt their signature Mon was. And so that way, it was basically a little piece of all the PAX Pokemon League running through me as the final challenge. It was a fairly creative concept, I'd like to admit. It worked out in some cases, it didn't work out in others, but again, the whole point was I was supposed to be beatable, so we could ultimately have people get into the Hall of Fame. I believe ultimately we had a total of 13, 14 champions this year, something like that. Although I did have far more battles, a lot of challengers did require multiple battles with me to be able to get that champion honor. But all in all, I had fun. A lot of the battles were really close, which was the thing I was most excited about. I believe I actually had roughly the least amount of challengers out of champions in past years, which was... maybe that's just indicative of the fact that people's time with the 7th gen is starting to wane. I know a lot of people are looking forward to Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Competitively, I think a lot of people are going to end up sticking with Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon for another year till we get the de facto 8th generation game on the Switch next year. So that's probably why interest was a bit down this year. There were a lot of people who were more interested in Pokemon Go than the actual games, which is also understandable. I know Go hype is definitely skyrocketed again, especially with Let's Go on the horizon. But, all in all, I think everything worked out pretty fine. So, with that, let's go ahead and get to my first battle on the docket for my challengers out of this year. Alright, my first challenger over the weekend was a guy by the name of Chalkey. Funny story about this game. Chalkey is primarily a VGC player, and about an hour or so before he actually officially challenged me and we had our game, I took part in a tournament they were holding that weekend. You know, PAX usually holds several, gaming tournaments over the weekend, and they did one for Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, and they ran it VGC style, and I actually got matched up with Chalkey in the very first round of that, and was promptly ejected. I do not have that game, and would rather not show it, because I, quite frankly, got destroyed. Part of that was because I brought a VGC 18 team, figuring they were going to go VGC 18 rules, because we were fresh off of VGC 18 by the time PAX West rolled around, and the 19 rules just got announced. But apparently they decided to go VGC 19. He actually had a VGC 19 team, and that's all you really need to know about that. Regardless, he brought against me for our champion battle a team of Tapu Koko, Snorlax, Melodic, Mega Metagross, Cresselia, and Bronzong. I know Mega Metagross, I believe, is considered Ubers by Smogon tiers. We do not operate under Smogon tiers. Stuff that we feel is blatantly broken, we will disallow. Otherwise, we just leave it be. It's kind of our own little personal thing. We build our own rules, basically. As for my team, you've probably been keeping an eye on the little ticker scrolling along the bottom of the screen there. He answered Poison for his favorite type, which is why I have Weezing. His least favorite type was Ice, which I decided to go with Alolan Ninetales, figuring I could probably use Aurora Veil. His favorite color was red, which is why Charizard is there. That is actually Mega Charizard Y, in case you're curious. He picked the number 8, which, going off of my type list, corresponded to the flying type. His favorite in-game trainer is Grimsley, and Grimsley's signature Pokemon is Bisharp. At least as far as what I consider anyway. For most of the in-game trainers, I pretty much used either whatever their last and strongest Pokemon was, or I went off of the Pokemon World Tournament in Black 2, White 2, whatever it considers their signature Pokemon that they always lead with. And his most memorable PPL battle, he said, was against Charlie Kelly, who was the gym leader we had themed off of Charlie Kelly from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and he had a team themed around the show. So that is why I have an Alolan Raticate, which I had never used before up until this game. So that was interesting. But we're going to go ahead and get into the battle here, as Chalkey is going to issue a challenge to Champion Ruffy, wanting to be the first to enter into the West 18 Hall of Fame. He's going to lead with Tapu Koko, as I decide to lead with my Wheezing Methane. And I'm going to tell you right now, just given up the team concept that he put together, that he ended up choosing for me, this Tapu Koko was going to cause me a lot of problems, and I knew it going in. But there was nothing I could really do. I was at the mercy of my own double-edged sword of the survey, so nothing I could really do, just had to grin and bear it. He's going to Volt Switch out right out of the gate and go into his Bronzong Blue Turtle, as I try to Sludge Bomb and fail, obviously, because Steel-type. I didn't want to take any sort of Psychic type attack from this thing, so I just go ahead and switch out, because Methane is unfortunately the best thing I've got to try to pick off Koko. I send out Concept, my Solvali, because it's Concept Art that's always constantly changing, and right now it's the Concept Art says Flying type. He goes ahead and sets up Rocks, which I proceed to defog away. The Solvali is basically Multi-Attack, which is its only attacking move, and always Stab because of the ever-changing memory. Parting Shot, Thunder Wave, and Defog. It's basically a purely support Solvali. He sets up a Trick Room and then proceeds to Toxic Me, which is not good because the Solvali is basically my all-purpose wall/glue for my team. But the Toxic's not going to matter too much this time around, because I go ahead and Defog and get on out of there, because I see a golden opportunity to abuse the situation to give my Alolan Raticate a shot. Rats is the nickname that the gym leader who played Charlie Kelly decided to go with. He goes ahead and sets up his Rocks, as I'm going to go ahead and Swords Dance here to basically try to make sure Rats is in as good a position as possible to cause as much damage as possible. Granted, against things like Bronzong, obviously, I'm at the mercy of Trick Room, but if it were to stay active for some of his faster things, then Alolan Raticate has a definite edge. He goes ahead and Toxics me, as I just go ahead and fire off a Knockoff, which is just going to completely destroy this poor Bronzong. He was holding an Agua Berry, in case you're curious. Definite VGC mindset there, or just thinking of the item clause. He sends out Melodic, which he actually had several Pokemon, female at that had the nickname Nathan. I was actually kind of curious about that. I think there was someone else that actually pulled that trick too, had everything nicknamed Nathan. Anyway, his Melodic is going to Scald, which Rats is going to be able to tank. And then I decided to bust out my Normalium Z, which the move I was basing this off of was Double Edge. So this Breakneck Blitz at +2 is going to hurt. To be more accurate, it is going to completely destroy this poor Melodic. So my very first outing with an Alolan Raticate, and it's actually putting in a very good amount of work. Unfortunately, Trick Room's going to wear off this turn, and this is of course when Koko's going to rear its ugly head again. It's going to dance around, set up the Electric Surge. I know it's going to kill me with some kind of Fairy type move, so I just fire off a Sucker Punch to try to get as much damage off as possible. And I actually do over half with a resisted hit before Dazzling Gleam goes ahead and exterminates poor Rats here. I think I had a Alolan Raticate running the Hustle ability too, which also certainly helps give it a little boost of power. I go into Snow Angel, figuring I can at least take one hit getting the Roar Veil up to make this Koko a little more manageable, plus the Hail could help chip away at it. Unfortunately, I don't get the chance to, because he proceeds to reveal Electrium Z on this thing, and the following Gigavolt Havoc with the Electric Terrain factored in is unfortunately going to completely torch my poor Snow Angel here. Snow Angel didn't deserve this. I mean, it just came out, wanted to have fun in the snow, maybe set up an Aurora Veil, but nope, we aren't going to get that lucky, unfortunately. I think this thing's only electric move was Volt Switch, because I never saw Thunderbolt this whole game, and any chance he had to use an electric move, he just went straight for Volt Switch. Like, he could have easily picked off Methane with a T-Bolt here if he wanted to, but Instead, he just Volt Switches out, which, unfortunately, thanks to the rocks that Bronzong was able to set up, is going to kill Methane, and Coco's going to be able to get out of here. Unfortunately, I really don't have anything else to kind of deal with Coco at this point anymore. He's going to go into Snorlax, another Pokemon nicknamed Nathan that happens to be female. I'm still really curious about that. I send out concepts here, so I can maybe start trying to get something into position to do some work. I defog just because I still have a Mega Charizard Y in the back that might be able to somehow salvage this for me. As he goes ahead and sets up a Curse. And Curselax is not something I necessarily wanted to deal with. Not much of a choice, though. So, what I decided to do here, after all the passive stuff gets taken care of, I decided to Thunder Wave this thing. I know this thing is already slow enough because of Curse, and considering this team was kind of designed with Trick Room in mind by the looks of things. But I figure if I can get some paras off on it, then I might be able to get something in a position to be able to actually do something about this Snorlax before it becomes too big of an issue. So, with the electric terrain fading and this thing paralyzed now, I decided to go ahead and Parting Shot to get rid of the +1 it got from Curse, and I go ahead and get my Flying type concept out of here. In, however, will come Grimsley, my Bisharp, as he reveals Facade here. I had a feeling this was probably a Facade using Curselax. But Grimsley's going to be able to take that. I'm going to be able to knock off to get rid of this thing's item, which turns out to be a Figgy Berry. Go figure, he's one of those Curselaxes. Unfortunately, he does not get fully parried, and this Earthquake is going to be able to put an end to my Bisharp, despite the fact this thing is back at base attack. It's not looking too good for me at this point. But, undeterred, I press on, I send out Sunburst, and proceed to Mega Evolve it into Zard Y, hoping that if I land a Focus Blast on this thing, I can at least get Snorlax out of the picture. It doesn't solve... I pretty much lost at this point because he still has Coco. There is no changing that. But I figure I can at least try and make this at least look a little closer. I do hit the Focus Blast, and I do proceed to put Nathan number 2, 3, I think at this point, in the dirt. Out comes Cresselia, which is also nicknamed Nathan. I really need to find out what the thought process was behind this idea. I Flamethrower, which is going to do a ton of damage over the sun, as he proceeds to Toxic me. I was actually kind of curious as to why he sent Cress out here, because I know for a fact a Coco Volt Switch in electric terrain would have annihilated Sunburst, and there is no way I'm outspeeding that thing at all, unless he was not running max speed for some odd reason. Regardless, I do proceed to put Cresselia down with another Flamethrower, but this is the part where Coco hits the field once more. We're going to see the rise of electric terrain one more time. Notice that Coco's in a netball. I never thought about trying to catch Coco in a netball. I usually try for quick balls myself. Regardless, he's going to Volt Switch out of me. Sunburst is going to fade to black, unfortunately. And his last Mon, aside from Coco, which Coco would have beaten me anyway, is his Mega Metagross, which is obviously going to Mega Evolve after I send out Concept. Concept, unfortunately, has no way of really hurting this thing. As I said, my only attack is Multi-Attack, which, because he picked Flying type with the number 8, I'm stuck with the Flying Memory, he's Steel, so I think you can see where this is going. Not that I get a chance to even fire off a multi-attack, because he's just going to hit me with an Iron Head, and that's going to do it right there. So, that was a good game. It got a bit rough there near the end, but I think I had a strong enough start, and even though he kind of gave me a bit of a comeback there at the end, but still, Chalkey was the first inductee into our Hall of Fame for West 18, and congratulations to him for doing so. He earned my designer badge, as well as the Champion's Memento that I put together as a bonus gift, just to help add to my designer aspect. So that's going to do it for today's battle. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I've been Ruffy, or RuppDat, however you want to refer to me. And I will catch you guys for my next champion battle. Take care.